I believe in miracles, so if you say that I think it's impossible, no, I think it's possible, because I think that the people in this country are getting of the frame of mind a miracle could happen, and I do believe in miracles.
But how do you expect to have any chance of winning when, in fact, you're working outside the two-party system?
I am not. We're working within the system when you're forming a third political party. No question about that.
Where are you going to get the basis for the support for a miracle?
In my judgment, when we get our message across to the young people, I have found, I've spoken on about 10 college campuses, and I have found that so many of the young people have so much in common with the principles of the American Party.
But how would you expect anyone to vote for a political unknown such as yourself?
I don't feel that it's so much, of course, if I get name identification, my purpose of my campaign swing in the past 3.5 weeks, and will be for the next month or two, is number one, to get known to the mass news media, number two, to get known to the members of the press. After that, I mean the members of the party itself. After that, then I feel that the thing is going to engender enough enthusiasm, it's my hope, against the other parties, that people are going to want to know who this third man is that's running for president.
Well, I don't know, speaking for the whole team, but if a senior feels the way I do, I'm sure a senior would like to win his last home game and make a good showing in front of the crowd. And the team, you hate to lose your last game. That's the one you kind of start back when you start remembering things, and I'm sure Baylor will be ready for the game.
It's really been a big thing for us to put on those white uniforms and play here in Moody. The thing about it is, you know, we have to play away Saturday night, and it's the biggest ball game of my career and all of our careers. I've never played in a championship game, which this is going to come down to in a way. And we're just going to have to forget about the fact that we're playing on the road and play just like we play here at home.
Well, when I was a freshman, when Gene Phillips was here, we defeated the Baylor freshmen down there. The year I was a sophomore, I didn't get to play in the game that went into overtime, and last year we were beaten soundly by 20 or 30 points. I've always played reasonably well down there. I guess I've played 2 games there since I've been at SMU, and I've had pretty good games, but I'm really looking forward to the team having a good game this coming Saturday.
How do you feel about playing Texas on their own home court? Do you feel like you still have a good chance to beat them?
Yes, judging from the way we played them up here and beat them, I think about 10 up here, I think we can beat them, but it's always a tired disadvantage when we go to somebody else's place and play, because they have the home crowd and they have the shooting advantage on the goals, and it'll definitely be a hard victory to bring back.
I don't like the direction we're going, but I do believe that if a person would operate under a system like we have, that we would just be beginning. I think the potential is still great for anyone that really wants to make something out of themselves. I still don't think there's any equal in the world in comparison to what we have in America, in spite of the fact that we are going in the wrong directions in many ways.
Do you see a change in that?
I'm going to try and help. I hope that one of these days I'll have the chance to put the system over that's worked so good for us for close to 50 years. I think it comes closer to the right thing between the worker and the boss from a standpoint of social justice. I think it has a lot on the ball.
I don't think that's a wrong assessment at all. Yes, I know that a number of the teachers have been fearful for their lives this year. And in a number of cases, even some of them as recent as 2 or 3 weeks ago, teachers have been threatened. And yes, they're afraid. A number are.
Do you think this will correct it?
I think that when the people who keep using profanity and the people who continually threaten teachers realize that a peace bond may be served on them, that legal action is taken, that yes, I think that this will be a fine corrective measure.
Even the most interesting trial can make the mind of even the most dedicated reporter wander. So photographer Phil Reynolds and I wandered over to a little burg some 15 miles south of Abilene known as Buffalo Gap, where, had it not been for the Texas and Pacific Railroad, this trial might have been held. A newspaper is published here occasionally, and it claims that about 85 years ago, when Abilene was nothing but a cattle loading point on the railroad, beautiful Buffalo Gap was the county seat of Taylor County. It had a fine courthouse with a jail upstairs, a courtroom downstairs, and a hanging tree nearby. In 1883, the local paper claims, intruders from the north stole the courthouse records and removed them to Abilene, though the present county clerk assured me a vote of the people in the booming railroad town instigated the switch. The still new limestone courthouse in Buffalo Gap then became an Oddfellows Hall, later a mushroom farm, and finally the sadly neglected Ernie Wilson Museum of History. Perhaps thinking that that attraction weren't enough, the citizens of Buffalo Gap, wishing to share their scenic wonders with everyone, voted their city wet, something that Abilene isn't. So, although the most famous trial, or what may be the most famous trial in Texas political history, is occurring in the courthouse in Abilene instead of here, some of the glory, or at least some of the cash, is following the ancient path of the bison. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judy Hanna in Buffalo Gap, Texas.
The case is pending in the courtroom of Judge John Meade in the Dallas County Courthouse. Jackson was returned to Dallas last night in the company of Dallas County Deputy Sheriff Pat Boyd. He was arraigned by Justice of the Peace W.E. Bill Richburg at the courthouse. Sheriff Clarence Jones and several other deputy sheriffs were at the courthouse during the arraignment. Justice Richburg and the deputies had been to a formal dinner party when they were alerted to come to the courthouse for the arraignment proceedings. All were decked out in formal tuxedos. Bond was denied in the case, and Jackson was returned to the jail section of the courthouse. No trial date has yet been set, but it's not expected that the case will be heard for at least 2 or 3 months. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, the Dallas County Courthouse.
Last year's Dallas police cars have met a rather untimely death. Only 1 year old, the metallic blue Fury 3 Plymouths of last year proved to be a financial white elephant for the city of Dallas. Their death apparently didn't come a moment too soon. I talked all the way from Dallas Police Department officials to patrol officers that actually drove the cars. They claimed the cars were ill-fated to the beginning. The woes ranged from the unfamiliar blue color to the desire to save the city money in what turned out to be possibly inferior equipment for the job expected from them. One mistake was the brakes in last year's model. Several patrol officers told this reporter that during a high-speed chase the brakes proved faulty, or went out altogether. Another contention of the old car was a smaller engine, 383 as compared to this year's bigger 440. The power just wasn't there when it was needed. One Dallas officer told me that the cars were dangerously prone to stall. The smaller engine may have cut gasoline costs, but these cars were driven hard, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week by numerous drivers. But the new cars are in now. All new 72 Plymouths are replacing last year's patrol cars. Already, over 80 of these new flat blue Plymouth patrol cars are on the streets of Dallas. The 71s have been stripped altogether of their former honor. City garage mechanics have worked to strip off the prestigious official police department crests. Lights, sirens, radios, and control consoles are now installed into the newer models, which, by the way, include metallic line brakes, bigger engines, and twin exhausts, all corrections of the former problems. And City General Supervisor D.W. Killingsworth claims this is the best car his garage has ever seen. What happens to these old cars? The majority of them are sold at public auctions at this municipal lot to the highest bidder sometime in May. But as some patrol officers have told me, it may be a case of let the buyer beware. This is Donna Witkowski for Channel 8 News, On the Move.
It hits you with kind of a sudden jolt when you first look out on the field and at the uniform. Rangers, it says. The Texas Rangers. There really is such an entity. This is Pompano Beach, Florida, the spring home of the team that will at long last, represent the Dallas-Fort Worth area with Major League Baseball. Hope springs eternal, particularly in the spring, and it's easy enough watching this youthful collection of no-names at play to envision through the summer months a long and frantic battle as the Rangers fend off contender after contender for at least a division title. It's easy to envision that, but it ain't going to happen. And if you seriously think it will, Las Vegas will cover you 100-1. No, this is a young team, we are told, a theme that is repeated over and over again by just about everyone connected with the organization. Not a contender, not yet. But in 3 years? Well, that's the storyline. Whether or not it comes to fruition is another matter. We have come here to meet these men, and through us, allow you to do the same. We'll have a series of conversations with them on the air beginning on Monday. In the meantime, if you're a Rangers fan, think positive. This is Vern Lundquist, Channel 8 Sports, with the Texas Rangers in Pompano Beach, Florida.
Well, I don't know yet. I haven't really played in any big tournaments lately. I've sort of been in Australia most of the time, and it's good to be here because it's going to be so much tough competition for me. And I think that's what I need at the moment because I've had such a long time off playing in big tournaments.
You're the number one seed. There are a lot of very good players who are 2 on down. Can any good tennis player beat another good tennis player on any given day?
For sure. I think it could happen anywhere. But I think it's great because it's Billie Jean's playing and Virginia Wade, and I've heard so much about Chris, and I'm glad you'll be here too.
What do you do when you're not playing tournaments? How do you keep your game sharp?
Well, before I do a main tour, I do a bit of running during the mornings, and about 2 hours practice in the morning of tennis, and then 2 hours in the afternoon, and that's about all. I don't do a lot of training, but only before tournaments I do a lot of training, but during tournaments I don't hardly do any because I think you do enough running on the court anyway as it is.
Vic, what was it that attracted you to her playing? Did you hear about her or did you see her?
Well, actually, when Yvonne was about 9, in Australia we conduct a lot of country clinics, and that is outside of the metropolitan areas. I had coaches conducting one of these places, and they told me that they thought they had made a find. And so I went down to have a look to see what Yvonne was like. You asked me what attracted me to her. It wasn't so much stroke work or the way she hit a ball. It was just a movement on the court, her reflexes, and also a tennis sense of how a ball should be moved to and so on. Then you could see that the rest was reasonably easy to build if you had this. In short, you can train a player to hit shots, but you can never give them this reflex, natural movement, and so on.
Union Terminal Manager D.E. Walker laughingly says the Post Office Department has been a part of this institution since the year 1. But according to the Cornerstone, it's been since only 1915. But the Post Office Department says that's long enough. They're moving out. The only activity around the once bustling facility is on its way out, as of this evening. Actually, there's been very little post office activity here anyway, adjacent to the terminal annex. It's been the piggyback operation, where the trailers come in on flat cars, are hooked up, backed into the docks, the mail unloaded, through conveyor belts, and into U.S. postal trucks for delivery to points elsewhere. This post office facility is being moved to a new truck terminal in Irving. There will be some 70 jobs affected. These men will no longer work at this facility. Who will remain? Well, Mr. Walker says only about 25 employees. There will be no further business conducted here other than maybe ensuring that trains don't run together and it doesn't fall down someday on a hobo. At Union Terminal in downtown Dallas, this is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Oh, no, I don't think Butts, they are giving lip service to rural redevelopment, but I strongly suspect that after the campaign's over that they're going back to their usual ways of doing things.
You don't feel that he's actually actively trying to help the farmer until after the campaign?
Well, he's trying a little harder now, I think, than he will after the campaign. I expect that the administration will spend a great deal of money on agriculture in the next few months. They've been holding back money. They held back from the rural REA $109 million that could have been spent and should have been spent 2 years ago. And now they're releasing this money, and other monies are going to be released for agricultural use in the next 5 or 6 months. But I strongly suspect that their enthusiasm for spending this money will decrease shortly after November.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.